Welcome to week 2 of my 6-week painting challenge to improve watercolor landscapes. This week, as you can see, is all about trees. And to be honest, I feel like I could have dedicated an entire month to trees. I barely scratched the surface in a week. I do, however, feel like I'm narrowing things down a bit and finding my style. So in a moment here, I'm going to be showing you 3 simple evergreen trees that I really enjoy painting, each one done in a slightly different manner. After that quick tutorial, I'd like to go over some things that I learned from painting dozens of trees this week. I hope you'll stick around to see what went well for me, as well as what didn't. I'll be painting wet on dry, and I'm mainly going to be using 2 colors, Hooker's Green and Payne's Gray. You will notice a little bit of burnt sienna, but not much. Now I'm starting out small and working my way down, fanning the branches out as I go. I'm not paying much attention to what's on my brush because I like the variations in value. I think if I had tried to stay consistent, I'd actually wind up with a very flat-looking tree. I found that I like to do wet on wet for those faraway trees in the background, those trees that you want to be somewhat faded and blurry. But I'm just not great at getting the results I want for those closer trees, unless, that is, my paper is dry. Maybe that just comes with practice. For this second tree, I have more water in my brush than before, and I'm using a dabbing motion to make the leaves, laying down small droplets. Now for my favorite part. Because my leaves are still so wet, I can come in now with Payne's Gray and touch it gently to the wet paint. See how it spreads out entirely on its own? I just love that. Now let's finish the bottom half. First the green, nice and wet, then the drops of Payne's Gray. By the way, I'll link the playlist in the description if you want to watch the video from week 1 where I covered 3 types of watercolor mountains. I'm going to create the third tree by alternating between the 2 colors. When I go back to my palette, I'm grabbing some green, then Payne's gray, back to green, and so on. In the center, my colors blended a little more than I'd intended, but that's all right. I think we can make an easy correction there. Let's drop in just a little more Payne's gray. Now we'll quickly finish up by going back to the first tree, which is now dry. I don't have very much water on my brush because I don't want it spreading or mixing with the green. I'm simply adding some light shading and some more color variation. And there we have it, 3 simple evergreens. Okay, now it's time to go over some of the paintings from the past 7 days that didn't work out that well, in my opinion. Too much water. You can see how I struggled to keep any control or definition in these examples. Trying to use too many colors. While I'm all for different colors, I think for someone fairly new to watercolors, it may be beneficial to work with only 1 or 2 colors, but use a range of values instead, at least in the beginning. Too much detail and too uniform. Nature isn't supposed to be perfect or symmetrical. Overworked and too much paint. These trees look muddy and harsh. They're lacking that light, loose feeling that I like watercolor paintings to bring. We've covered the problems I encountered. Now let's talk about what I would consider the successes. Loosening up my paintings, letting the paint and water do their thing without my constant interference. Taking chances with abstract styles and colors I wouldn't normally use. Using less brush strokes and leaving more white areas. Using water and light values for soft, faded backgrounds. Narrowing down my color palette and focusing on colors that complement each other. I would say the key takeaway from this week is, for my personal style and preference, simple is better. Let me know in the comments if you struggle with any of these same issues. Together, we will continue to improve our watercolor landscapes and enjoy ourselves along the way. Join me next week for week 3 of the Watercolor Landscape Challenge. We'll be painting bushes, grass, and flowers.